The priority to restore commercial air service at the Dubuque Regional Airport is in flight, but the work is not done. In this episode of Delivering Dubuque, we will discuss how the community is coming together to restore and retain commercial air service to our region. All right, so we're sitting here today at the Dubuque Regional Airport. I'm here with Todd Dalsing, the airport director. You know, Todd, we've got a lot to talk about. I want to talk mainly about the commercial air service that we just restored here at the Dubuque Regional Airport. But before we do that, I wanted to give you a chance to just tell us a little bit about the airport. There's a lot that goes on here aside from commercial air service, so give us the rundown.
Yeah, so there's a lot of behind the scenes things that people don't see. We're actually the second busiest airport in Iowa when it comes to aircraft operations, and an aircraft operation is a takeoff or a landing of an aircraft. We have the University of Dubuque Flight School here that does an aviation management and flight operations program, and that makes up about half of those operations. But the other half is an extremely strong and vibrant general aviation community that's made up of our local tenants here, as well as transients that fly in and do business every single day in the tri-state area. You know, you put on the different projects that we have going on. We've got millions of dollars in federal and state projects. We've got a ongoing taxiway project, an apron project, just finishing up a solar project. We have events as well.
Talking about the amount of things that are happening out here, actually, I think is a good transition to where we sit now when it comes to commercial air service. One of the things that people don't necessarily realize is that aside from one other small airport in the very southern tip of Texas, we are the only place in the United States that is a metropolitan statistical area that has to drive as far as we have had to drive in the last couple of years to get to an airport. It's around 80 miles. So this all started right after the pandemic, basically. And I guess we can talk a little bit about some of that history. So take us back to 2022.
Prior to the pandemic, we had an air carrier that had 3 flights a day to Chicago O'Hare. And we were literally on the verge of signing an agreement with United to start service to Denver using the SCASD grant. Of course, the pandemic hit. There were, 15 airports that completely lost air service. Dubuque was one of those. More than 70% of the airports seen a significant reduction in air service. So they may not have lost all their flights, but even like a Chicago O'Hare that had 5 flights to Washington, D.C., maybe went down to 2 or 3. And those airports are even still now struggling to get back to that frequency. So it really not only affected Dubuque, but it affected Iowa, it affected our nation, it affected the globe, and we still are recovering. And one of the main components is definitely, and still is, a pilot shortage. So this is going to be something that all airports and all airlines are going to have to work towards the future.
Yeah. We were part of the global challenges in losing that air service, but we really did fall into a very unique gap, didn't we, as an airport and as a community, because other places have a program called the Essential Air Service Program that basically makes sure that they retain that service, and it's a federal program. But Dubuque was left out of that program decades ago, and we don't have that. Community leaders really stepped up and started to come together to figure out what were we going to do about this. The Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce had taken the lead with the Air Service Task Force for years and years. In early 2023, we formed another group called the Commercial Air Service Team, and that included a number of different entities. CAST eventually became DBQ Air as an official nonprofit to really be a part of that with a mission. We all got around the same table to be able to talk about what is it we're going to do here, and I think that experience has been a good one so far.
Public-private partnerships, those are real. I mean, we go to Washington, D.C. to advocate on behalf of the airport. We also belong to several state and national boards. Locally, we've just done a great job with getting that SCASD grant and the Small Community Air Service Development Grant. And not only that, but recently, because of all the increase in costs, we're able to plus that grant up. You know, without all those members working together, I don't think we'd be as successful as we are sitting here today.
Yeah, absolutely. That group that came together to be able to talk about this was really built around one very specific mission, and that was to attract and retain commercial air service here at the Dubuque Regional Airport. And there's been a number of steps along the way. We already talked a little bit about the federal advocacy, but we've also spent a lot of time talking to the airlines themselves. people might have the impression that we just sit and wait for the phone to ring and for the airlines to get in touch with us. That's not the way that this has worked, has it?
No.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, even, pre-pandemic, pre-loss service, we were in constant communications with the air carriers, and basically it shifted from a retain and expand to a restore, retain, and expand model. Annually, we go to air service conferences. We work with our airport consultant to gather the data to show the demand from our area and have one-on-one meetings with each one of those carriers. This is definitely nothing new. It's not something where we're just sitting around and waiting for service to happen. As I mentioned, it was always retain and expand. Now it's restore, which we've done. So now we're back to the retain and expand. But we're not just going to stop with one carrier. We're going to keep pushing those buttons on the phone and keep making those calls.
So in talking to these air carriers, and we've talked to all of them at various points in time, we finally have someone who's going to be starting some air service here at the Dubuque Regional Airport, daily flights to O'Hare International Airport. So tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, we're super excited to be announcing that there's going to be a return of daily scheduled service to Chicago O'Hare on Denver Air Connection. They've been great to work with. One of the main things that we really love about Denver Air is the interline agreements that they have with legacy carriers like American and United and soon Delta.
You buy one ticket and then you check your bag one time and you go through security one time. And when you get to Chicago O'Hare, you actually just make it onto your next plane and connect there, and your bags will follow you and everything is seamless in that connection. That's the beauty of this entire situation, is our ability to be able to fly from here, and then once we get to O'Hare, connect to just about anywhere in the world to be able to do that. I mean, that's just incredible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it really opens up the frequency, right? So before, we were married to one carrier. That alone opens up hundreds of connections into Chicago to make it back to Dubuque, and hundreds of destinations once you go into Chicago to fly out of East, West Coast, etc.
The flight that we do have right now, which, our goal is multiple flights a day out of Dubuque Regional Airport to multiple destinations. We want to make sure that we have full connection to the rest of the United States. So that's the goal in the end. But we're starting with one flight. We didn't have access at this point to a morning flight, for example. We had some afternoon slots to choose from, and we chose this one because of connections. And it was the most connections that were available to us out of any of the time slots that we had. So this flight time was chosen very specifically for that reason, because you can connect in the same day to most places within the United States.
This is just the start. The afternoon flight is just a start. Working with our consultant, we do have an air service study. So that study tells us in our catchment area of about 30 miles-ish around Dubuque, who flies out and where do they go, and we do have data to back this up and reinforce these times.
A lot of these decisions have been made on all this data that we've gotten, and we did a survey of the community, both a public survey and a survey of just the businesses within the region to ask them what is it that they wanted, and it's the main reason we chose O'Hare as the main connection, and why we're looking at the flight times that we are and starting in the place that we're starting right now. So we've got these flights coming back. How are we going to be ready for these flights in November?
As far as daily scheduled commercial air service, we are ready to go. We already handle Sun Country destinational charters, and that's using a 737-800, which can hold up to 189 passengers, a 50-seat regional jet. We're absolutely ready to go. Our City of Dubuque employees will be working the ground just like we do for our general aviation and previous commercial operations.
We've got the flights back. How do we keep them? What is it that we need to do as a community to make sure that we can continue to fly at the Dubuque Regional Airport?
It's a simple answer. Fill those flights. And when you're booking, please try to remember all the conveniences. We're a short drive. We're free parking. We're friendly. We're your neighbors, your family, the staff, the TSA short lines. Get into our sterile hold area. There's going to be food and beverages available. There's free Wi-Fi. There's charging points. We have an awesome loading bridge. You don't even have to get out in the environment. We're going to board that aircraft, and in a short 35 minutes, you'll be in O'Hare making your connection. All those conveniences add up to the bottom line of buying your ticket either here or out of another airport, and we need your support to make this first flight successful and add flights.
Yeah, we can do this. We've done this before. We've had these flights before, and we've had air service to a major hub. We can make this work, and we can not only retain the service that we're going to get here starting in November, but we can add to it in the years ahead. And I've seen the progress that we've made already in the last couple of years, and I'm very excited to be able to fly Dubuque again come November. So thank you very much, Todd, for being here.
Thank you, Mayor.